Probably about the beginning of this. I'm going to do this in one take, Lee.
That's
So
fine.
we'll have a talk. We'll have a talk. So, mate, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
I'm 35. My name's Lee. And bloody hell, for the best part that I can remember, things have never been quite easy. Rough childhood, and tried to get through life with a lot of obstacles. But as a general myself, I tried to keep fit and healthy. Work part-time as well.
So what you do for part time then, mate? What do you do?
So I work at a pub in Accrington called the Arden, and I'm trying to get back into teaching as well.
Nice one. So you enjoy doing that then?
Yeah, I love what I do.
Love what you do. I bet you meet some characters down there, don't you?
Quite a lot, yeah. No 2 days are ever the same.
No, mate, I could better not. You know why we're doing this,
Yes.
First of all, I want to thank you so much for doing this and coming on camera. This is for my sake as well. I'm the guy behind the camera. My name's Neil, and I'm actually going to be trying to do these in one take. I think what we should do is get the raw thing as it is when we're asking the questions. Lee's got no idea what questions I'm going to ask him. I am going to ask him a few questions, so you're okay with them, aren't you, bud?
Yeah.
Right. So, Lee, as far as you can remember, how long would you say that you've been suffering with mental health problems? What is your mental health problem? Do you think it is? What do you think your mental health problem
I
is?
think it stems from when I was 13.
Yeah.
My childhood was great. I had a great relationship with my old man, but then just something one day turned, and I think that was the turning point in my life. I was home one day, didn't show up to a detention in work. In school, sorry.
It's okay, mate.
And my dad had a bad day, caught the head of year who used to live at Toppet Street. My dad came in, basically knocked 7 shades out of me.
Right.
And from there, things were just never easy. I went to go live with my mum in Bolton. And as far as I can remember from then, things just got worse and worse. My uncle tried to help me with a lot of things because of the job that he was doing at the time. But for some reason, I just fought against it everywhere that you could imagine. It got to a point where I'd run away from home. I was drinking at a young age. I started doing drugs. I became that reckless. I was stealing vehicles, even my mum's car, driving it around the estate. And I look at it now, and I think it does stem from that. I mean, things never got easier as time went on. I left home at 16. I got my first proper relationship at 19, and things kind of stemmed from there. But relationships were never good. I don't know if that ever stemmed from what happened with my dad.
From your childhood, sort of.
Yeah, I mean, some things are. I mean, I know full well I've not grown up at 35. I'm very immature for my age. I mean, most blocks are anyway.
Do you think then that could be for you? Do you think that's some place for you to go if you're having a bad day? Like for myself, I can be I'm 56, and for myself I can be quite immature because I find it's a better place for me to be, just to an escapism, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't like this growing up thing. Yeah, I've got bills to pay, I've got rent to pay, but I still like to be young at heart.
Yeah, I do understand.
I don't overly like this responsibility stuff. I mean, who does?
No.
But yeah, it just is what it is. I go back to being very childish.
Yeah, for you it's sort of a place. That's a place for you to be. That's like a safe haven, if you will.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I do understand that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll bounce around here like listening to music, acting like I'm still like 18. I'll have the occasional lapse, and I'll go up to the Spar across the road and buy a bottle of Malibu of all things, and I'll just party in here like I'm just turned 18 for the first time.
Right. So can I ask you, what for you then? If you're having what's a typical bad day for you? Like even if you're having a bad day, what's the sort of thing that happens or doesn't happen?
Well, I can literally refer to Tuesday this week.
Yeah.
I literally walk up in the foulest of moods, which hasn't happened in quite a few months. I don't know what triggered it, but I just literally woke up and I was slamming doors. Like, I didn't brush my teeth that day. I didn't wash. Luckily, I managed to still get out and try and function, but I was just so angry for the whole day.
Yeah.
Like, nothing could calm me down whatsoever, and I didn't eat. I barely drank. Like, I go into this state where I'll pretty much just curl up here, put TV on, draw my curtains, grab a blanket, and that's on my bad day, and I just try and stay away from anyone and everyone I can. I don't want anyone to have that trigger and then put them into a bad mood.
I know what you're saying. I do know what you're saying. That I find that I struggle a little bit with a few things like that. I tend to do similar. So if you're having a bad day, it's all. I'm going to ask you how you deal with it, but if you sometimes you get that strength to what gives you that push sometimes to just get off the couch. How do you deal with it if you're having a bad day and then you think I've got to do something. I've got to get out of this. What I'm doing, where I am. How do you get motivated? How do you get motivated?
Sometimes I can't.
Yeah.
But on the occasion I do, I just refer back to stuff that when I was in therapy when I was young, just complete one task, no matter what it is, and I'll try and do it. And 9 times out of 10, that one task is just to make my bed. Yeah. And then once I've made my bed, I'll do another task because it's so minuscule of a task. I don't feel like I've really accomplished anything, but I know it's done. And then I try and build the motivation from there, like wash up, hoover up, but I'll, even on that bad day, I still won't go out. I'll lose communication with everyone. I just have that day to stay in a bad mood to myself.
Yeah, I know what you mean with that, but I think you're similar to me with that, is that if you're having a bad day, if you can't deal with it, you just wait for the day to go over, so to speak. You sort of sleep it off or something like that. That's what I used to do.
Yeah, I will go to bed early and just, no, tomorrow's a new day, and hopefully I can wake up and see a different light.
Yeah, no. So what did you say? What sort of an impact has it had on your life? With the mental health issues you have, what in general in your life, what sort of impacts that had?
A lot. It impacts on my friendships, the kind of people that I'm friends with. It affects my relationships more than what I realise. I have this sense of low self-worth, like very low, and it gets to a point when I'm in a relationship where I feel I'm not good enough for that person, and it starts to have a chain effect after that. And it's got to a point where trying to open up to people about things gets harder and harder all the time. Like, mainly for my spouse that I'm with at the time. Like, friends, I can talk about my mental health with my friends, left ways and right ways. A lot of my friends go through similar things. But yeah, with my relationships, it definitely affects more than anything. I've had fights over stupid things that we shouldn't be fighting about. I've stormed off, I've moved down south, because things are just like, no, you don't deserve me, you deserve better. And
would you say that was because of your mental health as well? Do you think it impacted that on your relationship? Obviously, I was just going to say that question anyway.
This card's full.
Okay.
It stopped.
No, it's okay. I've got this one here. We'll carry on with this sound here. Yeah. So you would say then that's actually had a. I was going to say with your family and friends. That's why you did end up moving away, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, I've always moved away. Like, when things get really rough, I'll just up and go. No one knows where I go until a good couple of months after. But then I'll come back. I've literally moved to places like Harrogate, Nottingham, down to Bournemouth, Devon. I've gone to the top end of Scotland, just to get away for like 6 months. But yeah, I do come back, and I don't know if it's the area that drives me crazy, because I always feel so relaxed after I've gone. But
have you ever talked to anybody about it? Like, do you have any professionals or your friends or anything? Have you been to any sort of counsellor or anything?
So, when things first happened with my dad, I spoke to Kafkas and a counsellor, at the time, and they just put it down to hormonal teen stuff because of my age and whatnot. But my uncle saw right through it and was just like, no, there's something else. So at the time I was living in Bolton, and then my uncle literally come over and booked me in with a psychiatrist, and they said, no, things run a lot deeper. It's not just a case of hormones. You know, there's an underlying problem. And I was in under the psychiatrist till I was 16, and then that was it. 'Cause obviously I moved away, left home, but they still couldn't figure out what it was. But they had an inkling it was to do with what happened with my dad.
Right.
And then fast forward to literally this year, I started seeing a therapist because of a relationship breakdown and just things just didn't seem like I could get them out. And the therapist really helped. And again, my therapist has like referred me to go see another psychiatrist, which I actually see today. And I'm hoping they can find out what's brought that back.
So that the underlying problem is just still there then, if you'd say that
Possibly.
possibly still is, so that's what you're going to try and find out.
Yeah.
That's brilliant, that, mate. I'm really chuffed that you're doing that.
Thanks.
Well, why do you think, I was going to ask another question, but I've just changed my mind, I'm going to ask this one. Why do you think men can't talk about mental health? Why do you think they don't come forward?
So, my view on it is, we live in a world where everyone's now confused. Like, back in the day, even then, like, you go back, and men never talked about the problems. It was always a case of they'd finish work, they'd go to the pub, they'd have a few drinks, go home, see the wife, have the tea, go to bed. And then obviously times have changed now where we need to start actually talking, because it's not as, how can I put it, it's not as demasculating as people think. You know, it takes a lot of strength to actually own up, like, yeah, I've got a problem. You know, but still it's seen as a sign of weakness, and it shouldn't be. You know, like, there's been too many times, especially in my life, where I should have opened up a lot sooner, and it's taken me this long to go, yeah, I've got issues, I've got problems, I want someone to talk to about it. You know, and anyone that's got the same issues, like a couple of friends, you know, we sit down, we talk about things, we try to help each other, you know, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, we can have a laugh, you know, we can, I wouldn't say so much joke about it, because it's not a joking situation, but like we can, what's the best way? We kind of reminisce about a lot, and we go, oh well, do you think this would have happened if we'd have done this differently and stuff like that? And yeah, okay, you know, we'll have a little snigger and whatnot, but I think with all this stigma going on, like, men can't open up. Of course we can. It's just easier for some guys than it is others. But we all have that strength in us to go, yeah, let's talk. Whether it's to a family friend or somebody else, it needs to happen more.
I have to ask this question because I have to be very real when I'm actually doing this. The question I was going to ask you a bit earlier, but have you ever been that low in your life, Lee, where you've had the thought about committing suicide and stuff like that? And if so, what prevented you? What stopped you from actually, or did you fail? It was a failed attempt, or did you not do it? Did something change your mind not to actually take your own life at the time?
Right. So 2014 was a very rough year for me. I was in a great relationship at the time. Like, I was going to propose to her. My nan got ill, unfortunately, that year, and she was my best friend, and then she sadly passed in the August. Something happened in the relationship which made me question so much about myself, and the relationship tanked, and it was it really was the perfect relationship for me to be in until this incident happened. And I just, it's not that I couldn't look at her, but I couldn't look at myself the same anymore, because it's something I should have prevented. And then come September, after my nan's funeral, things just got way too real, way too quick. The relationship ended. I was in such a dark place because I'd lost the love of my life, I'd lost my best friend, and the only thing that I saw was a box of Tramadol, and I took a box of 80, and I really wanted to go on that night. I was under no qualms going that this is it, I have nothing else to live for now. Once I'd done it, I did regret it, and I felt myself slipping, and I quickly rang my friend and said, listen, like, I don't know what to do. And he rang me in an ambulance, and I swear to God, as clear as I see you now, was I was in the back of that ambulance, I saw my nan, and she said, don't give up, it's not your time. And that kept me going for quite some time. And I changed things around. Unfortunately, I didn't receive any help from anyone. I had to fight for it myself. I spoke to a lot of friends about it. But it's something I'll never forget. And I always swore to myself I'd never get that low again. But then, unfortunately, with events that happened this year, I got to that point again. Luckily, I did not do anything stupid. I had a whole plan how I was going to do it. And then it was literally two things took place within the space of 5 minutes. A friend from America messaged me, asked how I was doing. He said he just felt a bit worried. So I was just like, no, everything's fine. I'm just not feeling quite right. And then my daughter come in and just give me the biggest hug. And that just, it really did just make me, I ripped everything up, put it in the bin, and I was just like, no, what am I bloody thinking? That is something, I've got to be there for her. And things were going through my head like, I want to be able to walk her down the aisle when she's old enough,
It's okay, bud. You're alright, mate. You take a minute.
Oh, fucking hell.
Say, don't apologise. See, this is the reality of the mental health. This is why we're doing it, and this is why I had to ask that question. Is that other people who are going to be seeing this as well, you just know them to see the reality of things and where you are. You continually tell me you want to, mate. You continue to speak anytime you want. If you want me to change, ask you a different question and do something else, then that's fine.
No, I keep going. So yeah, if it wasn't for my friend Bryce and for my daughter in the space of 5 minutes, things would have been very different either that night or the night after. I had it all planned out. I was literally going to go to Aki Town Centre to Wellway Bridge, and I was going to jump off after I'd downed a litre of Parma Violet in the bloody fridge. That's what changed it. And then I was like, no, I need help. So then I started seeing a therapist. He's been absolutely so great. He's helped me with so much. I've got so much stuff like how to control the narrative. Things I can control, things I can't control, and the things I can control is what I need to focus on more than anything. Sometimes there's things that I can't control that I will be able to in due time, but until the time comes and I'm ready, there's nothing I can do, and I have to realise and understand that. And that's where I'm at right now. But my therapist has thought I do need to go a little bit deeper and see someone a bit more experienced. So hence why I'm seeing the psychotherapist later on today.
Brilliant. Yes. Would you say that days are getting better? Are you taking one day at a time at the minute then, Lee? Would you say that?
Definitely one day at a time.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll have an off day.
Yeah.
Like today's an off day. It's my daughter's birthday and I can't see her.
Right.
So I'm like a bit miffed about that, and my ex-partner's not even rang so I could say happy birthday to her. And she's not replied to any of my messages, so it's like, I just hope I know she'll be alright, but it'd just be nice to say happy birthday to her.
I understand that, buddy. I really thank you for your honesty, pal. I am going to ask you, I'm going to give you one final question. I'm going to ask you, you don't need to necessarily speak to me with this one if you want to speak to camera on this. Like I said, anybody that's going to be listening and watching this later, this is one take, this is none of the editing stuff. I am going to edit it as little as possible from every person's story that I'm doing. Is that the reality of men's mental health, and to get people like Lee to come forward on camera, it's taken me over 2 years to do so, and all kudos to the guys that are going to come on camera as well, and you'll get to hear their stories. You'll not understand how much this means. I hope you do, Lee, because there's a lot of people are going to understand and see this story, your story, and probably will relate to you, mate. Yeah. And none of that's written down, but the other couple of questions and bullet points I've off the wire. I'm flying off the wire with this, but it has to be that truth and that raw. That's why it's called the raw truth. I want to ask you something though, but rather than to me, like, would you actually look into the camera a minute when asking this question? Is there anything that you want to say to anybody watching this, to maybe get them to come forward and talk to someone, any males in particular, just to get them to open a bit? Is there anything you'd like to say? Anything you could be positive to get them to come forward and say something? If you want to say something to camera, pal, then you do so.
Yeah, to one of my closest friends I was in the Voices with, Ryan. If it wasn't for you, I'd be in a worse place, so thank you. My friend Easty, my best friend Easty, thank you for all your support this year. You've been amazing, and I know you've had your own troubles, and I hope that you manage to sort them out yourself. And to anyone that watches this, it is very hard to admit when you've got a problem, but just talk to someone, anyone. We've got to stay strong together. We really do. And it's a shame that we go through so much crap and we have this massive stigma about us that says we can't talk when we can. It doesn't make us soft. Talking about those problems, if anything, just takes a huge weight off our shoulders. Just talk to someone, anyone. Doesn't matter if it's a doctor, a cat, a dog, just anything, anyone. Just open up to someone, please.
Thank you so much, Lee. Lee, I really appreciate your time. You're an absolute star, mate. And I totally and utterly respect everything you've done today for us. Thank you so much, mate.
No worries.
I'm cutting in 3,